Welcome to Love by Design, the podcast for high achieving women who are ready to stop performing for love and start building it from truth, from alignment. Welcome back to Love by Design. So, today we're going to talk about something that clearly hit a nerve. So, recently, a couple of days ago, I made a post on Facebook that said, if you're looking for a relationship to make you happy, get a dog. And let me tell you, the comments were intense. Some people were amused, some people were offended, some people thought I was being cynical. Some people even thought that I was dismissing the beauty of relationships altogether. But the truth is, that post was never anti love, it was anti unconscious love. And there's a big difference. It was confronting a belief that has quietly shaped the way so many people approach relationships, which is make me happy, make me feel better, make me feel chosen, make me feel safe, make me feel worthy, make my loneliness go away, make my life feel complete. And that right there is the old paradigm, because relationships were never designed to do your bidding. They were never meant to be emotional servants. They were never meant to be identity machines. They were never meant to rescue you from your own disconnection. Relationships are sacred mirrors, and they reveal consciousness. So that begs the questions, what are relationships? What do they actually do? Well, in my opinion, relationships expose your patterns. They show you where you're still attached. They bring all your trauma to the surface. They illuminate the places where you're still performing, still controlling, still abandoning yourself, still confusing chemistry with alignment. And if we're being honest, this is why relationships are so confronting, because it's not that you're broken, no, but it's because they reveal what is still unconscious in us. So today, I want to talk about the shift that we are in. Everyone's feeling it. And this is the shift from using relationships as a weapon for personal happiness to understanding relationships as a pathway to awakening, to discernment, and to evolution. And this really deeply matters, because if you don't understand the purpose of relationships correctly, you'll keep demanding from partnerships what only consciousness can give you. So let's get started. So the old paradigm. So for a long time, relationships were built around survival, right? So people partnered for status, for security, for stability, for family structure, for financial protection, for social acceptance, for belonging. And when relationships are built around survival this way, the expectations inside of them become transactional. So it's all about you owe me, you complete me, you make this worth it, you give me a role, you make me matter, you prove I'm lovable, you feel the whole. Well, that's not conscious partnership, that is unconscious assignment. And many people I see today are still dating that way, even if the language that we're hearing sounds more evolved. And so you hear things like, oh, I just want peace. I just want someone who won't trigger me. I just want someone who makes me feel good all the time. I just want a relationship that flows. And listen, I understand the desire beneath all of that. Of course, you want peace. Of course, you want joy. Of course, you want love that feels safe and nourishing. But there's a big difference between desiring a relationship that holds peace and expecting a relationship to be responsible for your happiness. And that distinction really matters, because conscious partnership can absolutely bring you joy. It can bring devotion. It can bring healing. It can bring intimacy, pleasure, expansion, support, you name it. But your relationship is not responsible for manufacturing your wholeness. And that is where a lot of people get lost. A relationship can amplify what is true. It can support your expansion, it can hold your becoming, but it was never meant to replace your relationship with yourself. And when you ask it to do that, well, you're just weaponizing it. You start using love as a coping mechanism. You start treating partnership like emotional outsourcing. You start measuring the success of a relationship only by how comfortable it makes you feel. And that is not the full truth of love. So, what is love and what does it actually do? Well, love does not comfort, love reveals, it confronts, it initiates, it exposes the distance between who you say you are and what you're still choosing, what you're still tolerating, what decisions, what actions you're still taking. And this is why I say relationships can be a beautiful pathway to awakening, because they show you where you're still unconscious. So all of those attachment patterns, the control strategies, where you're still overgiving to feel needed, where you shrink yourself to be chosen, and where you still fantasize instead of discerning. Also, where your nervous system still confuses chaos with chemistry. They show you where you are asking another human to regulate what you have not yet learned to hold in yourself. And no, doesn't mean that relationships are bad. It means that relationships are revealing. And this is a very different set of lens than what we've been raised to believe. So one of the biggest misunderstandings that people have about conscious partnerships, because I get this a lot when I talk about it, is that they think conscious partnership means a relationship has no triggers, you never get activated, and that's just not true. A conscious relationship is not where there is no discomfort or triggers. It is one where what gets triggered can be met with awareness, with responsibility, with honesty, and emotional capacity. That is the difference, because triggers are not automatically proof that there's something wrong. Sometimes a trigger is revealing an old wound. Sometimes it's exposing a false belief. Sometimes it's showing you where you have abandoned your own standards. It's bringing unconscious pain to the surface so that it can finally be seen. Now, let me be clear. I'm not saying that every trigger relationship is meant to be sustained. No, I'm not saying that if it's a harmful dynamics, that means it's spiritual growth. I'm not saying you should tolerate emotional unavailability, inconsistency, betrayal, manipulation, or harm because it's awakening you. Absolutely not. Discernment always matters. In fact, discernment matters even more within the new paradigm that we're shifting into. Some relationships actually awaken you by ending. Some awaken you by disappointing you. Some awaken you by exposing what you no longer tolerate. Some awaken you by showing you exactly where you're still choosing from conditioning instead of truth. So not every relationship is meant to become partnership, but every relationship can definitely reveal something to you. And what it reveals can evolve you. It can help you on your own journey to your awakening and evolution. Now let's talk about the gap. This is the gap between being spiritually awake when you're in private and being unconscious when it comes to love. And, I always say that relationship is the best pathway for awakening, because you can have someone or a lot of people who are spiritually aware, but when it comes to love, it's still the same patterns. So maybe they meditate, they journal, they go to all the retreats, they sit with the ayahuasca, they understand energy, they read all the books, they talk about alignment, frequency. But when it comes to relationships, they're still choosing from the past wounds. They're still choosing from their trauma, from the victim mindset. So they're still choosing chemistry. They're still ignoring their body's knowing. They're still trying to override all the red flags. They're still confusing that intensity with intimacy. They're still chasing potential, right? And hoping that this self-awareness will compensate for misalignment. No, it won't. And that gap is the real work. And that's the territory that I truly care about, because knowing better should mean choosing better, but it doesn't always. And so if it does not, then consciousness has not yet become an embodiment. You know it intellectually, you can talk about it, you can use the right terminology, but it doesn't mean that you are embodying this truth. And this is where the shift is now happening. We're moving out of an era where relationships were used to secure identity, to soothe wounds and perform stability. We're now moving into the era where relationships are being asked to become sacred sites of truth. Not fantasy, not performance, not emotional extraction, of truth. So, conscious questions. The truth about whether this connection can actually hold you, who you are. It's all about emotional capacity. It's all about mutual responsibility. It's all about both people willing to grow. It's all about whether this is truly conscious partnership or if it's just the familiar chemistry wearing a spiritual language. And so my work is all about conscious love architecture, because conscious love is not built on vibes alone. It's not built on hope or potential. It's not built on, oh, but we have such a strong connection. No, it's built on truth, on discernment, self-awareness, capacity, and the willingness to meet what love reveals. So the real question is no longer, does this person make me happy? No. The deeper question now is, what is this relationship revealing in me? What does this connection bring to the surface? Am I becoming more truthful here, or am I becoming more performative? Am I being invited into greater self-abandonment or greater self-respect? Can this relationship hold honesty, growth, and reality? Is this aligned with who I am now, who I say I am? Those are the conscious questions that we need to start asking in relationships. And that is the shift. We're no longer doing, how does this person make me feel? We're asking, what truth does this connection reveal? And do we have the capacity to build with it? That is the more mature question. That is the more honest question. That is the more conscious question. And yes, sure, it will ruin fantasy because it's not as exciting, but it would also save you from building a false life based on chemistry alone. And we know that chemistry can be magnetic, but it can still be misaligned. We know that compatibility can be pleasant and yet still be insufficient. Only conscious alignment can hold the depth of who you're becoming. And I think this is where many women are now, especially high achieving women, self-aware, spiritually awake. They're no longer available for relationships that look good on paper but feel empty in the body. They're no longer interested in becoming smaller just to maintain a connection. They're no longer willing to call suffering death. We're not celebrating suffering anymore. They're no longer willing to confuse being chosen with being met. They want a relationship that supports their expansion and evolution. Relationships rooted in mutuality, where truth can actually live. Relationships where both people are accountable for their consciousness. That is conscious partnership. Not perfection, not fantasy, not ever being triggered. Two people willing to meet what is revealed. Honesty, integrity, and devotion to what is real. So back to my post. When I say relationships are not here to make you happy, what I really mean is this. They are not here to replace your inner work. They are not here to rescue you from yourself. They are not here to become the source of your worth. They are here to heal you, to refine you, to awaken you, to invite you to the deeper truth of who you are. And yes, from that place, happiness may come, joy may come, peace may come, devotion may come, pleasure may come. Sacred companionship will definitely come. But these become the fruit of conscious partnership, not the demand that you place on another human being before you've even met yourself. That is the difference. So maybe the real shift in love is this. We stop asking relationships to make us happy, period. And we start allowing them to make us conscious. We stop using love as some anesthesia, and we start meeting it as a curriculum for our soul. An encounter with another person, an encounter with truth, an encounter with ourselves, the parts of ourselves that can no longer remain unconscious if we want to build something real. And that is the new paradigm. It's not easy, I'm going to be honest. It's not easy, but it is sacred. Relationships were always meant to be sacred. And that's the only kind of love that can actually evolve with you. So if this stirred something inside of you, I want you to sit with this question. What have you been asking relationships to do for you that were never designed to do? And what might change if you saw love not as a happiness machine, but a pathway to your awakening? Sit with those and let me know what you think. In the interim, if you haven't downloaded your Love Gaze report, I want to invite you to go download it now. The pre-order is live now for my book coming out on November 17th later this year. So you can go ahead and order your copy now and start understanding how you are designed to love, how you're wired to love, so that you can start loving from consciousness and no longer for chemistry. Thank you for joining me. I will see you same time next week. Thank you for joining me on today's episode. And if it stirred something in you, trust that. Alignment isn't a concept, it is a calling. And if you're feeling the nudge to take this work deeper, then I want you to go ahead and book your Aligned Love Assessment, where we map your patterns, reveal what's keeping you stuck, and explore your journey to aligned love. You can book your session at joannwosu.com. Until next time, remember, you're not here to earn love, you are here to embody it. So keep dating by design, not by default. See you next week.